The lawmakers' decision on the bill seeking to abolish death penalty in the country was also reversed. The two bills are among the 42 that lawmakers passed for second reading yesterday. At today's plenary, Majority Leader Julius Uhobere moved the motion to reverse the decision on the bills. And according to the Deputy Speaker, Benjamin Kalu, the decision is as a result of the sensitivity of the bills. President Bola Tinubu has officially enacted the South-South Development Commission bill, signifying a historic advancement toward equitable regional developments in the country. The bill, which was co-sponsored by Senator Asukwoi Ekpeyong, is expected to address infrastructure deficits, environmental degradation, and other challenges of the region. Thanking the president for signing the bills into law, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission, Senator Asukwoi Ekpeyong, lauded the unanimous passage of the bill by the Senate. The senator also thanked Senate President Godswill Akpabio for his leadership and advocacy for grassroots development, which has led to the creation of 4 other commissions. Meanwhile, the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, has welcomed the bill signing and urged the president to appoint capable leadership to the commission to ensure its effectiveness. And to other stories, President of Ghana, John Mahama, was at the presidential villa to brief President Bola Tinubu on his visit to the Sahelian states, the earlier pulled out of the economic community of West African states. This is also the Ghanaian president's first visit to Nigeria since his inauguration in January. President Tinubu thanked his Ghanaian counterpart for his efforts in regional growth and security. The president also talked about the possibility of creating a bridge between ECOWAS and the Sahelian countries to ensure improved security and safety of citizens.
To thank him for the honor done me during my inauguration, but also to brief him on a visit I made to the Sahelian countries, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and to bring him up to date with some of the issues that I discussed with him. As ECOWAS chairman, it's my duty to come and brief him on some of the concerns that were raised there, so that we continue to see how to dialogue with those other countries.
Indeed, very happy of the effort is made to have a bridge between the AES countries and the ECOWAS. It's not a bad idea for us because of the security situation in the Sahel region and what economic opportunity that we must embark to ensure security of life and properties of our citizens. The innocent people in this episode are the citizens of those countries. Not much about us, the leadership. The citizens must be the first, beneficiary and the first part of reasons together.
President Bola Tinubu and his Ghanaian counterpart, John Mahama, speaking there. Let's take a short break, and when we return, we turn our attention to the newly signed South-South Southwest Development Commission bills into law. Please stay with us, everyone.
TVC News Weekend Lineup. TVC Breakfast Saturday with Kemi Fola Adeyemo and Emmanuel Ajayi. Political Standpoint with Precious Amayo. Newsweek with Mark Otabo. Politics on Sunday with Femi Akonde. Community Forum with Sarah Yeku. Get ready for the biggest stories, fresh perspectives, and burning news discussions that round up the weekend. Only on TVC News.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did...
The Deputy Speaker of the House of Reps, Benjamin Kalu, made this announcement during plenary on Wednesday. He says no mechanism is too much to trickle down development and dividends of democracy to the grassroots. Also, Special Advisor to the President on Senate Matters, Bashir Lado, says this shows President Tinubu's commitment to inclusive governance, equitable progress, and Nigeria's emergence as a global powerhouse. He says by signing the bills, President Tinubu has reaffirmed his role as a transformational leader who prioritizes regional empowerment, economic expansion, and infrastructural excellence. Also, Senator representing Ogun East and former governor of Ogun State, Benga Daniel, has also congratulated Southwest leaders for their relentless efforts in securing the passage of the bills, the Southwest Development Commission bill. Senator Benga Daniel described the passage of the bill as a hard fight that was worth its while, adding that the signing of the bill into law by the president marks a new era of development for the region. On Politics Tonight, let's speak with Yemi Makwadero, a strategist and governance expert. Also joining us virtually is Cletus Obed, a journalist, a political affairs analyst, and a former lawmaker, for their own perspectives on this latest developments. Good evening to you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us on Politics Tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much. Mr. Makwadero, let me start with you. We now have all the development commissions legally in existence. Is this really a game changer?
Thank you very much again, Jumoke, and thank you to our viewers for joining us. Potentially, yes. The spirit and the intent, behind the establishment of these development commissions is one that is very laudable. It is meant to accelerate equitable development in all the geopolitical zones of Nigeria. It is meant to bring development, closer to the grassroots. It is an extra layer of developmental effort in the area of development of infrastructure, especially the decaying infrastructure that dots the landscape of Nigeria. It's an opportunity to bring up, new projects, particularly projects that crosses the different states in the Southwest, in the South-South, as well as in the other 4 geopolitical zones that had their development commissions, act earlier enacted. It is also a way of engendering, healthy rivalry between and among, these various geopolitical zones in Nigeria. There is now going to be a benchmark, for, an even parameter for measuring, the developmental trajectory in all of these geopolitical zones. So potentially it's a game changer, even though there are people out there who will want to, take this for now, with a pinch of salt, if they have to go by the experience of the Niger Delta Development Commission, which, has invariably become a cesspool of corruption. At least that is the general perception out there. So I want to believe that the enactment of and the accent by the president to these bills, establishing the Southwest Development Commission and the South-South Development Commission, balances out the extra ministerial effort of the federal government to bring development to all the sub-regions in Nigeria. Don't forget that we had the first development commission we had that was regional based, was actually the Northeast Development Commission. The Niger Delta Development Commission is not essentially a regional based commission, but a commission based, on the principle of derivation for oil producing states. And that's why that commission crosses about 3 zones: South-South, Southeast, and then the Southwest. But these other new 6 development commissions, relatively new ones, I think it's potentially a game changer in terms of infrastructure renewal, in terms of rural development, and of course, urban renewal.
All right, let me go to Mr. Oben. Perhaps for the purpose of emphasis, you may need to talk to us about the importance of regional commissions? Because I know that our first shot at development commissions was in the First Republic. But now that we're back here, how crucial are these commissions to regional development? Because we've had critics who have said this may never be like what we had in the First Republic.
Yes, let me thank you for bringing this up for discussion, especially today of all days, being that the National Assembly has announced to us, or the President again, fearless, courageous Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, former governor of Lagos State and President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, has again demonstrated rare courage in governance by taking the bull by the horn, by completing the circle of regionalization of development, in which we are now going to have both all the 6 geopolitical zones as we are created, now having commissions to compete and to get down to the grassroots and to get to every other Nigerian on a daily basis. But to locate it historically, as you put it, in the First Republic, we had regions, and those commissions at that time included every facet of our economy and human empowerment index in the entire regions of Nigeria at that time, from the 3 regions to later on the inclusion of the Midwestern region, which was created by a referendum. But essentially, for today, I can tell you that what President Tinubu has done again has shown that he is not looking at an election, but he's looking about Nigeria. And this is because the regions now with these commissions have no reason to complain. The local governments have almost been obfuscated and emasculated by the state governors. And the regional development are beyond others because all the regions are going to be represented. The composition of the development commissions encompass all regional representations and of course state representation for each of those areas. What that means is that there is a watchdog, there is a gatekeeper, and there is a monitoring and supervisory role that will now superintend and intervene at the same time. So there is a dual mandate. First, to make sure that the equality of states within the regions is taken care of. The second thing is that budget monitoring will also be very effective and actuated and activated. It will be attenuated and attended by the vigilance of indigents. That is to say that Nigerians must not now wait for Abuja to tell us whether the road from Maiduguri to Bama, whether the road from Asaba to Benin, whether the road coming from Enugu to Oka, and the road coming from Damaturu to Geshua is being done. You will not need anybody from Abuja to tell you about those roads. You are not going to know whether the electricity wires or cables that you find between Ogoja and Ikom are functional, and whether the ones between Ogoja, Obudu, and Kanyang or Abu in Boki are functional. What we are going to get is simply that citizens must take responsibility and be vigilant about this development. It's not enough to create those moguls and that will now become ATM machines, as NDDC almost became until the forensic audit. In any case, that reminds me that forensic audit brought out a lot of things that showed that over 13,000 projects were hanging and uncompleted, while a 23-year-old permanent building infrastructure for the NDDC was still hanging until Senator Akpabio became the Minister of Niger Delta. This is just for us a reference point for which these commissions must not now take off and must not relapse into. If that is our banana peel, we must now look into it, and that these commissions must no longer go the way of job for the boys and creation of avenue for other members of the community or other members to take advantage of. But for us to really see real development being taken and driven to the communities, because we have agreed that 80% of our people are in rural areas. And if we must pursue agriculture, intervention on road and power, energy, and all must come through these commissions. So we must be vigilant.
Mr. Obun, let me stay with you. Let me stay with you, and with particular focus on how budget monitoring would be more effective, just as you said. And in practical terms, how significant is this step towards accelerating the socio-economic development of the regions and, lay the foundation for its infrastructural development?
Great. I have maintained in my previous appearances and interventions on development at the grassroots because growing up and presently getting involved in rural development and community development, a situation in which every man is almost a local government unto himself, providing his own water security and light, we will have to agree with ourselves and tell ourselves the truth that the way to go at this point is for community. For instance, look at the security architecture. What do you call joint task force, joint civilian task force? It is the communities now coming together through vigilante and other security outfits within them. They are now cooperating with the security architecture of Nigeria through the military, through the paramilitary and other security agencies that have now made it possible for actionable intelligence to take place within the security community. So it is with development that community associations, development association, you have the Ndigo having their own association. You have the Greater Calabar. You are having the Ogoja movement. You are having the Arewa. These can now become hubs of development and development agents by way of monitoring. And they should not just be talking about who is going to be the next president. This president is now sitting and saying, take development to your houses, take development to your communities and to the villagers. If we are bringing fertilizer, let's know who's getting it. You hold them accountable. These should be agencies. Community development associations should become agents of monitoring, of holding accountable all elected and appointed officials, so that at the end of the day, we not go and start looking for who should take care of us when we already have on our hands everything to do to ensure that our communities are not only safe.
Let me come in here. I've heard you, but critics have also argued that there is no basis for these duplications. I mean, their argument is that the Northeast Development Commission was necessary to rebuild infrastructure and institutions destroyed by Boko Haram in Northeast Nigeria. And there was no need for the federal government to replicate this in the Southwest and the South-South. They say this is only typical of the Nigerian political structure, which should not be. I wonder if that makes sense to you.
No, it doesn't. Let me tell you this. In creating the Northeast Development Commission and creating the development commissions in the Northwest and in the North Central, and now coming to the South-South and the Southwest, what the federal government is talking about is that in creating this, they now knew the effect of this and the need for intervention, direct intervention through these agencies. You just mentioned the three regional agencies in the First Republic. See how effective they were. Most of the infrastructure, including the universities, University of Nigeria Nsukka, University of Ibadan, Ife, Ahmadu Bello University, all these were creations of regionalism and regional agencies and intervention agencies. We are going to now replicate this because we've seen that the Northeast worked and it was very effective. As I speak to you, Abuja cannot compete with Maiduguri in nightlife or in infrastructure today. There is no secondary school I know in Maiduguri urban that does not have computers, that does not have air conditioners. I went to Maiduguri as an undercover to do a lot of jobs up to Bama, up to Goza. I did that in 2022 and 2023. I did that on my own, and I can give you these statistics. But I tell you, everybody is now thinking that it just came overnight. It is not true.
All right.
It is because there is now a direct intervention. So there is need, there is justification for all that. I can tell you this because it is not in our own interest for us to engage in the argument of whether it is political or not. We are not playing chemistry. We are not playing economics as well. We are also not playing to the gallery. It is about real development for the real people.
I agree with you, Mr. Obo, but to some extent it's also good to evaluate some of these arguments. But Mr. Makwademre, let me come to you. Where do you stand in all of this? Do you agree with those who say these politicians from these zones may have pressured Mr. President into assenting to these bills because the establishment of these zones would bring, federal allocations to their zone, and that there is no basis for this?
Well, I think there is no denying the fact that the decision to duplicate these development commissions in other geopolitical zones other than the Northeast also ticks the political correctness box. However, it is not just limited to that. The fact of the matter is the establishment of this commission, if well deployed, can actually accelerate development. And beyond the physical infrastructure and the rest of it, it is also a means of focusing every region or every geopolitical zone on particular vision for their areas that will make them different, from the other zones. Because every zone in this country is gifted in some peculiar ways. For instance, in the Southwest, for instance, we could look at the issue of education and agriculture, and also interstate road infrastructure. And there can be a way of galvanizing resources and effort towards having very big regional projects, as against the practice of every state operating in silos. Let me give you this my example of my experience. I traveled on a road that leads from Lagos to Ogun State. It's a few years ago, and that portion of the road that belongs to Lagos State was so very well paved. But the moment you cross into the Ogun State axis, it was dilapidated. In fact, it was a struggle to navigate on that road. So, but with the establishment of the commission, apart from the direct intervention of the commission, right? The commission has the potential, of actually trying to bring about a focused development that impacts every state, in those regions. So it becomes an issue of synergic cooperation. And like everyone knows, when synergy comes into play, you achieve so much more than the sum of the individual states can achieve. So, and it would, like I also said earlier on, it can also enhance issue of accountability, because the funding of these regions will come partly from the statutory allocation that normally should go to each of those states. And then the commissions are empowered, by the act establishing them, to also source funding locally and internationally. So for me, I think we are getting into a very healthy race of accelerated development all over the country, which means that at this point, we're going to have 4 layers, of development, beginning with the local government, the state, the regional development commissions, and of course, the federal government.
Absolutely.
Because I do not think that the establishment of these development commissions actually means that the federal government is going to, withdraw from carrying out its, responsibilities to each of the states in those regions.
And if I'm correct, I mean, both of you have established that with this latest development, every region, every zone would account for itself or be accountable to itself. I mean, to a very large extent, regional development disparity, especially now that every region now has a commission, would be a theme of the past. But let me also stay with you, Mr. Mark Baderu. I mean, we understand that development must be holistic, but do you worry about the lack of coherence between these commissions and the states? Is there a likelihood that this becomes a challenge?
Well, if you look at the example of the Northeast Development Commission, I have not really observed, any form of incoherence, between the commission and the state. It appears to me that they've been working together, in a synergic manner to achieve the results that people are testifying about in terms of physical development, educational development, investment in agriculture in the northeastern states. So I think that the major challenge would be for the National Assembly to ensure that they oversight this commission. And I think that the way these commissions are structured and the fact that they are replicated all over the place already imposes, an intrinsic sense of transparency and accountability on the boards that will manage these places, because I mean they are there in the public domain and people can easily make comparison. What are we seeing in the southeast? Why is it dwarfing what we are seeing in the north central or in the south? So I want to believe that the inclusive also, the inclusion, I beg your pardon, also of or expansion of this board to include representatives of other geopolitical zones in that place can also be a source, of peer review mechanism, such that people who are representing each of those geopolitical zones in other commissions will see what is happening there, and they can also bring to bear what is happening in their own regions of residence to ensure that we have the development trajectory that is equitable, that is even, and that is comparative to the kind of resources that are available to each of those commissions.
All right. Mr. Albon, let me come to you. And I want you to react to the same question. Do you foresee a lack of coherence between the states and the commissions? Because concerns have been raised about duplication of efforts, especially with states and also having power of governance, also when it comes to including economic development. How do we ensure that these commissions operate differently to avoid duplication of efforts by states, which may in turn result to wasteful spendings?
Yeah, let me say this. This question is very germane and at the heart of this entire creations. Under the NDDC, we saw that happen to local government, states, and NDDC. So NDDC, being the first of its kind from OMPADEC to NDDC, is a good case study and should be a template upon which the regional commissions must now operate. And the way to go is therefore learning from that, drawing from that experience, is to ensure that the states, the local governments, the regional commissions, and the federal government have, beyond the boards that shall govern them, should have a monitoring group in which on a quarterly basis, on a yearly basis, whatever timelines that will be given, since there will be equality of allocation, but differences in needs, because the needs assessment will definitely differ between Borno and Calabar, between Ogoja, Boki, and Badagry, between Damaturu and others. You are going to get that difference. But what we are saying is there should be equality. If these people are looking for water and others are looking for roads and others are looking for solar light and others, there should be their allocation being given, should be monitored by a team, by a group, by whatever name called, that shall do no other job than to do peer review on a regular basis to compare. You got 10,000 naira, 10 million naira to go and do these projects in the 6 zones. Can we see what you have done? In that way, there should be things like town halls, so that communities will ask questions. You say you have done a borehole in Bumaji, in Boki local government. I didn't need Bumaji people here. What did you do there? You said you have done this in Dapchi. Did you do the solar lights there? The Dapchi people will come to a town hall, either in Maiduguri or Damaturu, whichever place within the region, that each of those quarterly meetings will rotate them. Don't take everybody to Maiduguri or everybody to Calabar, because I suspect that the regional headquarters for the South will be, because NDDC is already in Port Harcourt, the next one should be in Calabar. This regional headquarters for the commission will be in Calabar, by my suspicion. So people should not just be brought to the headquarters in Calabar. They can also go to Benin. They should also go to Asaba occasionally, rotating them within the zone. In that way, people participation will be key to assess the real intent and execution of projects. Unlike where before, the NDDC is doing a project, in this case, the commission is doing a project, a borehole, and then the signboard there is for the local government. And the signboard on the highway is reading the state on the same borehole. So you don't know who is doing that. That's the duplication they are talking about, because there was no efficient and effective monitoring. So there should be a conscious effort, not just to set the commissions and the boards, but a monitoring and supervising body beyond even the National Assembly. So as you are duplicating the commissions, as you are bringing the commissions on and thinking that it is duplication, you should also ensure the monitoring and supervision is effective and effective, so that everybody now knows what is being done and what is not being done. I think that is where we are. It's not just enough to send out the money to set up the boards, but we should have effective monitoring to give the people the opportunity to say, This project they are talking about does not exist in my community. They should tell us which part of the local government in Boki, which part of the local government in Gambarungala, which part of the local government they have done in Geshwa or in Kirikasama in Jigawa State.
Right.
They should tell us that.
And the issue of political interference was a major challenge with the NDDC. But we'll come back to that in a minute, Mr. Obun. Let me go back to Mr. Makwaderu. I want to ask about the Dawn Commission. I mean, there is the Dawn Commission already established in the Southwest, which many of us believe is a dedicated technocratic institution for the sustainable development of the Southwest region. Would you advocate for a collaboration between both agencies, for lack of a better word, especially in the area of insecurity? Mr. Makwaderu.
Oh, certainly. I think in a way, the Southwest already has a head start in view of the works that the Dawn Commission has been doing since 2010, 2011, that it was established. And I believe that there is a template already that the Southwest Development Commission, for instance, can leverage based on the issue that Mr. Honorable Obun mentioned about needs assessment. The Dawn Commission has done a lot of work in terms of what exactly is required to develop and translate what is on ground in the Southwest into what is desired. There is already a vision and there is a set of missions that the Dawn Commission already has that the Southwest Development Commission, can leverage. And I also want to sound one note of warning in terms of the musical chairs that happens in some of these commissions in terms of rivalry, interstate rivalry, as to who should produce the board chairman, who should produce the directors. I believe that the Act already set that, already find out that to be done. But Obun already mentioned a very significant thing, and that is the inclusion of communities in these geopolitical zones in terms of decision making as to what exactly their needs are, and then for them to be involved in ensuring that these needs are efficiently and effectively provided. So by and large, I think that learning from the lessons of the failed commissions that we had in the past, and then borrowing from the success stories of the successful ones, these regional development commissions, for me, presents an opportunity to Nigeria to actually accelerate, development and catch up. We have a lot of catching up to do. Our infrastructural deficit is huge. I understand the fear of duplication, but like I said, this should really not be an issue because I expect.
All right. All right, gentlemen, let's go on a break, and when we return, this conversation continues. Please stay with us, everyone.
Experience information and entertainment like never before as TVC Breakfast takes your weekends to a whole new level. Introducing TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, your ultimate source of thrilling sports updates, insightful political analysis, and captivating entertainment news. Stay in the know with what's trending, catch up with the latest in sports, and immerse yourself in the latest buzz from the world of music and movies. Your weekends are no longer just days off, but moments packed with knowledge, excitement, and enjoyment. TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, only on TVC News.
Information is power, information is security, information is knowledge. On Labor Lens, we believe that working people around the world have real questions of their own. They want to know how the world of work operates, what it means to the employer of labor, how policies affect workers in the workplace. On Labor Lens, I ensure we engage effectively the organized labor, organized private sector, and government to get out of them information workers are in need of. I am Sharon Ijason, asking questions that make you get sense of the workplace.
There is always more to a story than the screaming headline. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Meet Benga Oreshegun, a fearless voice and an advocate for the truth. He's bringing fresh energy and bold insights to Journalists Hangout.
Get ready for deeper analysis and dynamic perspectives. Join me and Babajide Kolade Otitoju with other veteran journalists on Journalists Hangout. Weekdays from 5 p.m. and on Sundays, 1:30 p.m.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw ether material slabbed, stroked, and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known. For when the wailing stops, the pieces settle down in abject beauty, erected for a century of a century. Speaking, advocating, protesting as the arts are meant to be.
Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you very much for staying with us on the program. President Bola Tinubu signs Southwest Development Commission bills into law. And my guest tonight, Yemi Makwadero, strategy and governance expert, Cletus Obun, a journalist, public affairs analyst, and former lawmaker, are helping us examine all the concerns raised and possible success stories upon proper implementation and monitoring. Gentlemen, thank you very much for staying with us on the program. Mr. Makwadero, let me continue with you, basically because Mr. Obun had talked about the NNDC. How do we ensure, with what we experience with the NDDC, how do we ensure these commissions do not become conduit pipe for corrupt practices, do not become another avenue for financial mismanagement? And I mentioned the NDDC for obvious reasons. Despite the huge financial resources pumped into the commission over the years, the region still suffers same challenges. Until recently, the commission had experienced mismanagement of funds, contractors that collect mobilization fees and simply take a walk, allegations of politicians feeding fat on Niger Delta resources, and reports of terrifying wasteful expenditure. But challenges like environmental degradation, high poverty levels, spiraling armed conflicts persisted. What must we do differently now?
Honestly, I mentioned in my last intervention
Mr. Makwadero, can you hear me? All right, Mr. Obun, you heard that question. Please kindly react to that question. Mr. Obun, did you get that? Gentlemen, can you hear me? Mr. Obun, All right, we'll get back to that interview in a moment, but let's talk security matters. The Nigeria Customs Service Ogun 1 Area Command, Idiroko, has handed over 7 million cefas seized along the Idiroko border to the Economic Financial Crimes Commission. Senior reporter Kazim Olowe tells us more.
It was another successful operation for officers and men of the Nigeria Customs Service Ogun 1 Area Command as the Comptroller Mohammed Shuaib handed over 7 million sefa intercepted by his men to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for further investigation. The money being smuggled from Nigeria en route the Idi-Iroko border to the neighboring Republic of Benin was calculated to be an equivalent of 17 million naira in Nigeria's currency. The comptroller says the currency was hidden at an unsuspected corner awaiting a yet-to-be-identified courier before it was uncovered by the service's intelligence operatives at the baggage road in Idi-Iroko.
The handing over of the seized currency is to foster interagency collaboration between Nigeria Customs Service, EFCC, and other agencies in line with the policy thrust of our Controller General of Customs, Bashir Adewale Adeni, MFR. The command under my leadership is committed to the strict implementation of the federal government fiscal policies and the extant laws that govern the day-to-day operations of the service at the international corridor.
In his response while taking over the custody of the exhibit, the representative of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission assured the comptroller that his agency will conduct a thorough forensic investigation to uncover the circumstances surrounding the interception and ensure that due process is followed.
The interception of this 7 million sefa is a testament to the importance of interagency collaboration in our fight against corruption, money laundering, and illicit financial flow through our borders.
He commended the management of the Nigeria Customs Service for their vigilance and commitment towards safeguarding the nation's borders. Kazim Olowe, TVC News, Idi-Iroko.
Experts have asked media organizations across the country to adopt artificial intelligence-driven tools to enhance journalistic practices, combat misinformation, and cater to diverse audiences. Senior reporter Habida Lawal reports.
As traditional media outlets face mounting pressure from social media and digital platforms, they are turning to AI to streamline processes and improve efficiency. From automating routine news generation to improving fact-checking, these technologies are reshaping the newsroom operations. A $5 million fund announced by Connected Development is expected to boost AI storytelling, data gathering, and algorithms to produce reports in quick time.
In keeping with our objective of empowering individuals to seek their right to a decent level of living, as part of our 5-year strategic plan, we would empower journalists in mobilizing Nigeria for this proposed ethical use of AI tool.
Despite the benefits, the integration of AI in journalism raises ethical questions. Emphasis is on the importance of developing guidelines to address issues like bias and data privacy. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
In Adamawa State, the government has flagged off the distribution of $525,000 World Bank Agricultural Intervention Project to support farmers, enhance food security, and mitigate climate change. Governor Madu Fintiri believes that the initiative will reduce vulnerability and build resilience across communities. Senior reporter Owolabi Adenusi found in this report.
Gathered in this hall are farmers from the 21 local government areas of Adamawa State who are here to receive support from the federal government. But first, Governor Fintiri made it clear that the intervention would establish a continuous cycle of business activities, creating an economic safety net for communities and the state. Governor reaffirms commitment to supporting World Bank projects through the Agro-Climate Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes Initiative.
It is my profound honor to welcome you all to this land of beauty and the capital city of Adamawa State to launch the Community Revolving Fund disbursement of $525,000 to communities across Adamawa State. The Community Revolving Fund, CRF, is an innovative financial mechanism designed to empower communities to build resilience against the harsh economic realities in the country and also reduce the vulnerability of our communities that they are facing against the backdrop of the increasing adverse effects of climate change.
The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security notes that the partnership between the federal government and Adamawa State government is aimed at boosting food security. He explains that the project covers all 774 local government areas in the country. The beneficiaries, in an interview with TVC News, expressed their gratitude to the federal government, believing that the gesture will go a long way.
The AgriServe project funded by the World Bank aims to tackle these challenges by promoting regenerative agriculture and water conservation practices across 19 northern states and the FCT.
Well, we're very excited about the...
All right, everyone, let's now continue with our conversation. Mr. Makwaderu, can you hear me, sir? Let me come to you because Mr. Obun had said a bit about the NNDC and the kind of experience we had with our commission. So how do we ensure that these commissions do not become conduit pipe for corrupt practices? What must we do differently now?
First and foremost, the culture of transparency and accountability should be ingrained, in that organization.
Are you there, Mr. Makwaderu? All right, Mr. Obun, let me come to you if you can hear me properly. What must we do differently now, going by the kind of experience we had with the NDDC? Gentlemen, are you there? All right. We apologize for the glitches, and sadly we cannot continue with this conversation. But I'm sure, we had a great conversation tonight with my guest, Yemi Makwaderu, strategy and governance expert, and Cletus Obun, who is a journalist, public affairs analyst, and former lawmaker. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at midnight. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone.
If you want to become something, become a child again. Why be a patient? If you must worry, then worry about winning. Why worry about germs? When you come home, bring tales and stories. Why bring in germs?
Shield your families from germs. When Dettol is a part of every household bucket, then you and your family can stay protected from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Everyday use of Dettol keeps my loved ones protected.
In the heat of the summer, walking on the road feels like walking on hot coals. How do I cope with this heat?
And how do I cope with that bad odor?
By staying 5 degrees cooler.
Body odor is caused by germs, and on hot days, the sweating and the odor are more. That's why you need to get the new improved Dettol Cool Soap, which offers up to 5 degrees instant cooling sensation and protects you from 99.9% odor-causing germs.
The new Happic sachet. It has a thick formula, so all you need is just one sachet for your toilet bowl. It gives 10 times better cleaning and big savings too.
Wow, Helen!
Sparkling clean toilet with Happic sachet.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Tired of spending endless hours in the kitchen? Struggling with bulky appliances? Cooking should be a delight, not a chore. Tired of messy cleanups from kitchen tools that never seem to perform as expected? Do you wish there was a single solution to handle all your blending, chopping, and grinding needs? Introducing the Cook X 4-in-1 Blender, the ultimate kitchen tool to revolutionize your cooking. It's a food processor, mixer, grinder, and blender, all in one. The incredible Cook X 4-in-1 Blender comes with 3 versatile cup sizes, each tailored to handle a specific task perfectly. The Cook X 4-in-1 Blender